Hey guys, Cam for 15 back at it with another video for you guys. Back with another One Piece episode review for you guys. And I know, man, it's been a while since I talked about One Piece on the channel, like a long, long time. Now, I guess before I start the review, what's been going on with me in One Piece? Look, I didn't drop the series. I didn't stop recording the series and trying to make reviews and shit like that. I would just get behind. And then obviously the weird scheduling of One Piece and how the anime was doing it before. Now it seems like now they're going to be going the seasonal approach every single year now. It's where the thing where it's like you're getting into the groove of things, and then boom, you get a 1 week break and you just get a filler episode. But now One Piece anime is going to have it to where now it's just going to be seasonal, which I honestly think is better. You can do seasonal stuff. It gives not only weeks for the manga to get further ahead, but at the same time get the production team at Toei a rest. And then on top of it, it's like you can probably cover an arc if the arc is already completed in the manga. So, honestly, I think it's better than doing the year-round thing. So yeah, now when it comes to the anime, I will get to it when I get to it. I'm sorry, I apologize if you're upset about that and it pisses you off that I'm getting to it when I'm getting to it. I'm currently right now, because I like to watch the English dub for One Piece, I'm actually watching the Wano arc in the dub because I actually did slack off and get lackadaisical in the dub. Now, where I'm at in the dub is close to the Egghead arc. I know some parts of the Egghead arc are dubbed, but essentially, what the part I'm at is I'm on the part where it's now it goes to the part where it's like now Luffy versus Kaido, before he gets knocked out like the fucking umpteenth time in that fight. The one after it was basically the part after they split up Big Mom, and everything, right? So I'm at that part, but not before Law shows up to help Kid fight Big Mom and things like that. But I'm rewatching that through the dub, and then I'm gonna be watching the Egghead in the dub, and then any episodes that were dubbed that I didn't talk about on the anime side of things, I will review, and those will be single episode reviews till I catch up completely. So even if, by God, One Piece has already started their Elbaf arc, you'll be getting my reviews of the Egghead stuff and everything, and then eventually I'll catch up. Now, I'm obviously, as you can see, I'm doing the live action show review. Look, I think with my live action show, I was doing it with my co-host, I think for episode 1, the Red Wolf, but I don't want to. We already do enough reviews as is, and it's really hard for us to freaking schedule because he's got his channel to worry about, and then he works, then I work, and things like that. So yeah, now with the anticipation that the One Piece live action season 2 is coming out, literally next month and probably a few weeks from now on March 10th, I'm going to review the first season episodes and give you my thoughts, because I was supposed to do this a long time ago, but I got lazy, and me and my co-host never could find time to match up. But hey, whatever, screw it. Now we're going to essentially talk about One Piece live action, and things like that. So look, I'm happy to do that, and I'm happy to get now to the point of the live action show and stuff like that. So anyways, let's get to the episode, and this is episode 2, titled The Man in the Straw Hat. And basically this episode basically covers I think it's the Orange Town little mini arc, or the Buggy arc that we had here, where Luffy eventually meets Buggy and things like that. Now, again, I'm gonna say multiple times, and like even if you go back to my first episode review of the live action show, albeit it's still the same concept, it's still the same timeline of stories, there are, I wouldn't say significant differences, but there are differences, right? So it is, again, like I said, out of order, right, of some things. Like, for example, like Nami has already joined Luffy and Zoro at this point in time, when the Orange Town portion of this story, that's when she actually meets them for the first time, right? So, yeah. Anyways, um, the episode starts off with a flashback of Luffy again as a kid in his, excuse me, in his origin story. And basically, this is after he ate the gum gum fruit. And he's basically testing his powers on this chair, and Makino is like, "Okay, Luffy, you need to stop this." And she's basically also trying to convince him, like, why do you want to be a pirate? There's no point in being a pirate, because it's like, dude, why would you want to put your life in jeopardy? But, obviously we know to do. Now, this when we cut back to the present, and Nami again is trying to break into the safe to try to get the map of the Grand Line, and Luffy is you get this one funny moment where Luffy is just been talking and she's like, "Okay, I get it, I know. You want to be king of the pirates. You were given this hat, blah 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 blah, right?" Now again, you kind of do the whole thing, and this is also a portion of the hat about the whole thing, right? So she obviously throws the hat away like it's nothing, and Luffy obviously is pissed off about that, and he's like, you don't understand. You like, one, don't do that because like this is my treasure. And she's like, it's just a mangly hat. Like, what the hell is the reasoning behind this? And Luffy obviously is like, I was gifted this hat because I'm here to fulfill a promise. Now, also too, when she does open the safe, you do see the bounty for Kuro, which obviously is the cat burglar pirate who we'll see in a few episodes from now, and things like that. So yeah, but it is funny too. I also thought it was funny how Luffy is like, this entire time he's been trying to get them, Nami and Zoro to join their crew, and they're like, no, we're not a crew, and we're not joining your crew, no, and things like that, right? So there's that. Now, obviously, she explains about the Grand. This is when Nami obviously explains about the Grand Line and everything, because Luffy obviously doesn't know, basically geography and stuff like that. So again, for rundown, she breaks down, okay, there's 4 different seas: the east, the west, the north, and the south blue seas. And basically they all meet at one point, which is the red line, which you just basically go up Reverse Mountain and you can enter into the Grand Line that way, right? And obviously, Luffy's like, well, I'm gonna need a navigator to do that. Now, eventually they see like red flares popping up, and we find out like the red flares are actually not flares. They're actually like sleeping gas. So eventually, now as they're falling asleep, Luffy grabs the map of the Grand Line and he puts it actually in his body. Like, he eats the map of the Grand Line. Now, I guess you can say it does make sense for him to do with him being a rubber man. He can basically ingest that and just hide that somewhere. Now, you can make the case like, all right, well, what the hell? How was he able to like make sure it's not digestible? I have no clue. I'm just gonna say that's One Piece logic. So yes, your typical cartoon logic in a live action show. Now, they all wake up and they're all in this crate and they're wondering what the hell's going on, right? Now, they're wondering if they've been captured by the Marines, but basically Luffy's like, no, Marines wouldn't do this because, it's too sophisticated. Like, this is the work of pirates. And even Zoro's like, you know what? Actually, you do have a point. Okay, cool. We can go out and we can kill, and everything, right? But Luffy's like, no. Let's not do that. Let me talk to them. I can talk pirate, and they'll be friends with me. And Luffy, or Nami and Zoro, again, are just looking at this dude. They're like, oh, brother, this guy's a dumbass. Look, dude, again, I'll say it before, I'll say it again. The cast that does their representative characters, they're all great. But Inike Godoy, who plays Luffy, man, just even going back and rewatching just the first 2 episodes, you can just see like the dude's got passion for playing the character of Luffy, and honestly, he embodies Luffy, because Luffy is that carefree person that just wants to go out, have a good time, have fun, and be free, right? And then you obviously, again, like I said, you have Emily Rudd. I'm playing Nami, who has that serious like, oh brother, this dude's a dumbass, right? So yeah, but yeah, it's funny. So they end up breaking out of the they end up breaking out of the crate. And again, this is another difference, right? Another difference here is now the buggy part of the Orange Town stuff is actually like a carnival hall. Like they're in an actual like carnival tent. Because if you remember, in the anime or the manga, they were basically, in this little area within the town or whatever, right? But it's like this one, which honestly, again, props to props to the directors, and again, Oda's been working on this too. But props to making some differences to make things a little bit more, I guess you can say, somewhat more realistic and something more lifelike of, something like a clown pirate. Oh, it would make funny sense that, oh, a clown pirate would have a carnival type of thing, right? So you just have like all his crewmates and everything, right there, and they're looking around. They're like, what the heck? Now, also another crazy part too about this whole situation is the townsfolk of Orange Town, they're actually in the carnival tent as like the audience, but you see like they're chained and they're basically told to applause. Like I forgot, you have the one of the Cat brothers, right? Who they actually do reference about it, or when Buggy comes out, he talks about like not getting a dancing lion, and that's basically hinting at the lion in the one lion in their group, right? Which it's like, okay, the reason why they didn't do it because clearly that's another difference. They don't have the lion because, well, guess what? You would have to do CGI, and obviously, they're like, no, we got a budget to use, and we're not gonna waste on making a gigantic ass lion that obviously is with the Buggy's pirates, right? But again, like I said, they're like told to have applause signs. They're having applause signs and everything, and you just get the ongoing gag, when Buggy says, "All right, applause," and the people of Orange Town are supposed to clap and applause, and you just see like these people are not just applauding in happiness. You look on some of these faces, these people are just in fear. They're just clapping, and Luffy, Nami, and Zoro are like, "What the fuck is this?" Right? Especially Nami, because we know, and Nami at this point she didn't like pirates because the Arlong stuff, right? So it's just like, oh, well, that's this is great. So Buggy basically walks out and he's like, oh, hello. And it's funny because again, like he says lines where it's like he expects the audience to start laughing, and he's like, okay, you can laugh now. And they're like, ha ha ha. Or when they actually do laugh because they think, oh, this is the part where they laugh, he's like, I didn't say to laugh. Right? So, look, man, the actor that plays Buggy, bro, again, apologies for that, I don't have their names down, but again, the actor that plays Buggy, he did a phenomenal job this entire season, and he plays a phenomenal Buggy. Like, it honestly reminds me of the actual anime version. Honestly, in some cases, Buggy is funny in the anime, but honestly, I can make the argument, I like the live action version, the way they portrayed Buggy here. Yes, especially by the end, like, he has that, and then also too, it also did feel like in the live action version, they made him more sadistic and dangerous. Like, for example, again, having the people of Orange Town, chained up in this carnival thing, and it's like, I'll kill you if you don't laugh or you don't do what you're told, and he's basically forcing them against their will to do all this stuff and everything, right? And on top of it, the lengths he goes to try to get what he wants. I can make the case, honestly, it's more sadistic than how they did it in the anime and the manga. Like, they really made Buggy a lot more threatening in the live action version, albeit at the same time, he's still treated for comedic relief and jokes and things like that. But again, there's moments where like, oh no, this dude, like, oh, you probably don't want to mess with him. He actually is a serious villain, and I actually do love how the live action version actually made Buggy absolutely a serious threat, and a threat that's like, okay, you probably don't want to piss this guy off, otherwise he will kill you, right? So basically, he confronts Luffy and the crew, and he basically is like, look, you know, I'm here because I need what I need you guys, that you guys have for me, and that is basically the match of the Grand Line, because I need to go out there and find the One Piece, and when I essentially do, I'm basically taking over this entire world, right? And I'm gonna be king. Now, Luffy's like, no. Let's get something straight. You're not gonna be the one that's gonna be king, right? I'm gonna be one king, right? And he goes on to say, like, I'm gonna be king of the pirates, right? And obviously this gets a laugh out of Buggy and everything. Now, you do get this funny mention, too. Also, Zoro's like, I'm Roanoke Zoro, I know you're a pirate. And obviously Buggy's like, oh, look at this, guys. We got a celebrity here. Roanoke Zoro, the pirate hunter. And things like that. So, basically, he also, it's funny, too. He also does make, Luffy does make a mention about no, or saying no, in regards to no, but not nose, right? Or actually, no. Luffy's like, hey, I know who you are. He mispronounces obviously his name, right? But then that's when Luffy obviously this pisses off Buggy because the nose thing, and that was a whole funny thing. He's like, nose, don't say it. And he almost said it again. He's like, no, don't. But anyways, Nami's like, look, I got something for you, right? Because Nami's trying to get out of the situation and escape because she's trying to play it all on her own. So she hits Luffy, which stretches him out. There, obviously, Buggy sees this. He can tell, oh, he's a devil fruit user. Nami runs, and then when she runs to the outside, you just see Orange Town just completely in rubble, trash, destroyed. And she's just looking around. She's like, oh my goodness. Like, what the hell? Now, Buggy's pirates end up catching her and bringing her back, right? And essentially, she's like, what did you do to them? Like, why did you destroy their homes and everything? And basically, Buggy's like, oh, please. I didn't destroy anything. I did keep their hands, which I'm just like, oh shit, this dude is, and this is what I'm talking about. He was like, oh, I could have just cut their hands off if I wanted to, right? Now, again, Buggy's like, all right, enough of the BS. Give me the map that I said you are. And trust me, I heard you, because before they ended up breaking out the crate, Luffy did tell Nami and Zoro, like, hey, it's in a safe place, right? And they reference that it's in his body, right? So, obviously, they take Nami and Zoro away, but they keep Luffy there because obviously Buggy knows that Luffy knows where the map is at. So he's like, all right, buddy, we're going to do a nice stretching contest, right? So there's that, right? Now, Zoro and Nami, they're basically chained up, right? Now, Nami is basically trying to force her way out, and obviously, Zoro does call her out. He's like, well, what I don't expect you to do anything, because what are you gonna do? Just gonna run and leave us high and dry? Even after everything we've done so far, you're gonna just leave, because that's what you do. You're just a burglar. You like to steal and then leave people high and dry, right? So, like, why would you care about these people's town, this people's town? So there's that. Anyways, you have one of the brothers from I forgot his name, Buggy's guild, or crew, and he talked about how Zoro killed his brother, which is crazy and also pretty dark, which is something that I don't think that actually happened in the manga or the anime. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But essentially, while Nami's, pick-locking her cage, dude is throwing knives at Zoro as he's spinning on a wheel and everything, right? But eventually Nami breaks out, and they essentially knock him out. And this is when the final battle basically gets started on their end. Now, Luffy, who is basically being confronted by Buggy, and Buggy's basically trying to get under his skin and get him to break, right? And basically, at first it was like stretching him out, but Luffy ends up breaking out, right? Now, obviously, Buggy is like, I don't get you. Why do you want to be king of the pirates and everything? And obviously, Luffy's like, well, that's because that's my dream. And obviously, again, Buggy laughs at that. But Buggy makes a mention about Luffy's hat. And he's like, I've seen a hat that looks a lot similar to somebody I know of. His name was Red Hair Shanks. And obviously Luffy's like, wait, you know Shanks? And obviously, Buggy's like, oh, me? Yeah, I know that traitor. We were friends. Well, I thought he was my friend. And he just left me high and dry because I know he wanted to go be selfish and pursue his own dreams. And he left me high and dry. And again, when you look down the road and it looks, you obviously know the future of One Piece in the relationship, he ended up leaving and starting his own crew and basically told Buggy, hey man, or like essentially he asked, but if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, he asked Buggy to, join his crew. But Buggy didn't want to do that because, he felt like we had an objection for Roger and everything. Like, how could we betray Roger's trust and everything? And obviously Shanks was like, well, okay, then peace and everything, right? So yeah, but it makes sense. It adds up with that whole thing. But basically, Buggy is talking shit on Shanks, and Luffy's like, Shanks is not that type of person. He's a person that cares. And obviously, Buggy's like, oh please, what the hell are you talking about, right? You don't understand. So yeah, now this is when Luffy obviously gets pissed. He punches Buggy, and obviously his head comes off. Everybody's freaking out. But then this is when obviously we know Buggy has the chop fruit, so which he has the devil fruit as well. And obviously Buggy's like, it looks like we have something in common too, right? So there's that, right? Now, this then gets into another flashback moment, and this is the flashback part of when Luffy was a kid, and the bandits come by Makino's bar, and basically pressurize him. And Luffy's like, please, I'm not gonna, he did the whole thing standing up to the bandits because he figured that fighting was the best way to go. Now, the bandits like, please, you want to fight? Let's just I'm just gonna let you know you're gonna die for this, right? Now Shanks comes up and he's like, hey man, leave my friend alone. Otherwise, you're gonna get hurt, right? So, look, this is when it starts the fight between Shanks and his crew versus the bandits and everything. And then obviously, it cuts back to the moment where Luffy is literally drowning in a tank because Buggy has seawater drowning Luffy and everything. And it flashes back, or what is it? It flashes back to obviously when Luffy was almost killed by the by the sea monster or the sea creature, which the CGI looked really good on the sea creature, right? Right? Or the sea beast. Now, also too, during the scene where he's being drowned, Luffy's like, don't worry, my friends will come back for me and save me. And obviously, Buggy's like, come back and save you? Man, you must not know how pirates work. They won't save you if your life depends on you. What pirates do is they betray you, and there is no friendships, and and everything. Because again, he's again remembering his previous moment with Shanks, and he's like, please, pirates will leave you high and dry if it benefits their own needs. So guess what? You can't call a pirate your friend. You're just an outcast like everybody else, right? And then again, you get the moment where Shanks saves Luffy. And obviously Shanks loses his arm. Well done scene there. And obviously if the actor Shanks just like, wait, you lost your arm and everything, right? So that's the thing, which, honestly, now if you read the manga and you know what's currently going on in the Elbaf arc, and you obviously saw the flashback with these God Knights and shit like that, and stuff like that. I won't spoil it for my anime only people who have yet to get into the Elbaf stuff, but maybe Shanks losing his arm was a good thing. I'll give my anime onlys a little hint there, right? So there's that, right? But anyways, what happens is Nami and Zoro, they come back, they do save Luffy from drowning, and this is when they start the fight with They start the fight with Buggy, and essentially, their fight against Buggy essentially has it to where it's kind of just like how they did in the anime and the manga. They split his body up so far, and they put it in areas where he couldn't be able to build himself back together, and stuff like that. And basically they make him like a midget and everything. Luffy does his gum gum bazooka, and hits freaking Buggy away as they end up winning and beating Buggy. Again, this is probably one of my favorite episodes in the entire show. They get the map, they save the map. What is it? They all agree, okay, let's work together. And Luffy does save the townsfolk by freeing them and things like that. And basically, the townsfolk, you do see the mayor. He gives Luffy some food. He's like, "Hey, all right." He has a question like, why are you saving us? Like, you're pirates. And obviously, Luffy's like, "We're good pirates. We're not nothing like that, right?" So essentially, what happens is they free them. Luffy gives them some food, right? Or they give Luffy some food. Luffy he's like, no, you guys need that food more than we do because you guys need it to rebuild. But hey, I'll take this nice little snack, right? Then they sail off, and then also too, Nami does fix his hat, right? And things like that. And that's where the episode and then this basically gets to the flashback moment, where obviously Shanks is saying his goodbye, and that's when Luffy makes the declaration, and Shanks like, I'm gonna get my own crew, and it's gonna be a crew better than you, and I'm gonna become king of the pirates. And obviously Shanks like, okay, well, that means I guess you got a lot of trust. Obviously gives him the hat and things like that, and stuff like that, right? So yeah. Now also too, I forgot to mention, in between the episodes you get the moment again. Another change in the live action show is Garp. So again, we didn't see Garp at all till like freaking shit, man. I don't remember if we saw Garp any earlier on before we saw him after Ennis Lobby arc. But again, Garp has, one of the major changes in the live action version is Garp absolutely playing a massive role in the early stages of the East Blue Saga, right? So when we see him go to the town where Captain Morgan was at, and he basically takes over this base for the time being. Now, this is when he has his conversation with Kobe, because Kobe at this point, he signed up to be a cadet and everything, and he asks the questions. So then he interrogates Kobe, basically saying, I don't get it. Why are you trying to become a Marine, but you were helping the pirates? And basically, Garp is judging him, saying like, no, this is not adding up. You wouldn't want to be Marine. Well, what type of scrawny kid like you would you think being a Marine is this in this type of life, right? And obviously, Kobe is like, well, because it's my dream. And Garp says like, oh, your dream. Well, you can't really accomplish that said dream when you're what you are. What you are. So he continues to interrogate, Kobe, and Kobe eventually gives away like, look, I was on this pirate ship with Alvida, right? And I was kidnapped, and I was forced against my will to do this. But then somebody helped me, and they saved me, and this is how. And he told me that I could achieve my dream. And obviously, Garp's like, okay, then who is that pirate? And he's like, his name was Luffy. And obviously Garp, who knows Luffy because that's his grandson, right? He's walking around and everything, and you can tell like he's fuming. He's pissed, right? Because we know Garp always wanted Luffy to be a Marine, never to be a pirate, right? He wanted Luffy to be a Marine. So this is when basically Garp tells Kobe like, okay, what is it? The Straw Hat Pirates, right? Do you owe him any allegiance? And obviously Kobe's like, no, pirates are bad and we got to bring them in. And obviously that's when Garp's like, I knew you were right? Because obviously too, Kobe's like, pirates need to face justice and things like that. So yeah, and basically lets him free for the time being and everything. So, and then basically too, you also do get a thing where he basically arrests like Captain Morgan and basically says like, all right, we're going after Straw Hat Pirates because we're going to stop them from getting to the Grand Line, and they're going to be all brought in, right? So they're going to be shown the consequences of their actions, which again, it's crazy that we're seeing Garp just play a massive role early on in the East Blue Saga, because he never did this. He didn't do this. And obviously, you know, you watch the end of it and you see what it results in. It's like, no, it's clear. It's clear, right? So that's the thing there. But yeah, but regardless, that's where the episode ends there. And then before the episode ends, you kind of get left off with a little cliffhanger where obviously it's clearly Nami is calling the Arlong pirates, saying that, hey, I got the Grand Line map and I'll be headed back shortly. So yeah, that's where that's going at. But the second episode of the live action show of One Piece was really freaking good. So yeah, man. But anyways, if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts, hit that subscribe button if you want to get more live action One Piece reviews as I continue to catch up, so I can be ready for season 2 and things like that. But other than that, again, apologies for the late delay on any One Piece stuff, but hey, one by one, piece by piece, I'll be getting to it. But anyways, guys, catch you guys in the next video. Till then, guys, stay safe out there. Have a great rest of your day or your night, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Till then, guys, peace.